Dragon Ball Z Budokai, or as some of you call it, Budokai, is a fighting game first released for the PlayStation 2 on November 2nd, 2002 in Europe and December 3rd, 2002 in North America. It was so successful that they ported it to the Nintendo GameCube on October 28th, 2003. The GameCube version was tweaked a bit to represent cell shading more closely. It isn't perfect, but I do think it looks pretty cool. In 2012, Bandai created the HD edition that includes Budokai 1 and 3. Not Part 2, because Bandai felt Part 2 added new elements to the game that made it not a straight brawler game. They state, and I quote, "When you look at the three games, 1 and 3 are actually more straight up fighting games. 2 is a fighting game, but also introduced some other elements of gameplay that kind of broke off the fighting aspects a little bit." This was released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, the first time Budokai 1 was on an Xbox system. The actual first DBZ game on Xbox hardware was Sagas in 2005. Dragon Ball Z Sagas was released on GameCube, PlayStation 2, and the original Xbox, the first time a non-Japanese developer created a DBZ game. Also, the only Dragon Ball Z game to ever be on an original Xbox. The game is very simple, and if you play the story mode, you'll watch more cutscenes than actual gameplay. It's the other modes that make the game truly excellent. In World Tournament, you fight in a ladder style competition where you can unlock tons of extras. Versus mode is great fun as long as you unlock all the different characters you can play, which is 23 of them. The North American version is the only one that features English voice acting from the Funimation dubbed episodes, while the European release only had the original Japanese voices.
You're not my brother! Please, let me go.
Can't
listen to him, Goku! He's only telling lies!
And that dope ass intro song. I freaking love this song. It gets me pumped every time. Dragon Ball Z. I much prefer the English dub. They used great actors to capture each person's personality perfect. Then again, this is just my own opinion. I am capturing my PlayStation 2 gameplay on actual PS2 hardware using component cables. The game is natively 480i unfortunately. The GameCube version is being captured on my Nintendo Wii using component cables, and this is also only 480i. The PlayStation 3 is captured on my, you guessed it, my PlayStation 3 through HDMI, and the game runs at 1280 by 720 resolution, while the Xbox 360 version runs at 1920 by 1080. The PlayStation 2 frame rate is surprisingly 60 frames per second, dropping down to a mid-40s at times. The lack of aliasing kills it for me though. It is really hard to enjoy this game because of all the jaggies. It kinda hurts my eyes. Back in the day I was pretty immune to this, but not anymore. The GameCube version only seems to run at 30 frames, and to me, this isn't a terrible thing. I don't even notice the difference. But the interlacing on this version is terrible. There is so much of it. The aliasing is way better though, but there is just so much interlacing. Now, if you play this game on an old tube TV, you won't even see any of this. So back then, it wasn't even a big deal. The PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 both run at a near constant 60 frames per second. But that is to be expected since it is an old game running on superior hardware. Both are smooth with lots of anti-aliasing and look fantastic. Now let's dive deeper into comparing all versions graphically now. The PS2 vs GameCube. On this shot, you can see that the aliasing on the PlayStation 2 is a lot worse. The background and hair give it away. Also, the obvious, the cell shading on the GameCube is only on the characters and nothing else, but still looks pretty cool. A close-up of Raditz' face also shows the lack of aliasing on the PS2, and a closer shot of the differences from the 3D to the cell shading graphics. I do like both, but the GameCube does match the anime better. On this shot, you can see the jagged edges more on his shoulder, and here the interlacing is just so bad. Looking at the GameCube, the door in the house is more visible, but on the PS2, the Kami house is more visible. Very slightly, but still more visible. So the interlacing on the GameCube was bugging me, so I put the game into my GameCube using composite cables to see if it would be better, and nope, the gameplay is more blurry and the interlacing is still there, just less visible because of the blurriness. Look here, you can still see it. So we're going to move on to using the GameCube gameplay from the Wii. On this scene, this annoying part of the game, the PS2 is ever so slightly sharper. If we zoom in a lot, we can see the mountains in the background is a bit crisper. The grass is a bit sharper on the PS2, but I'm grasping at straws here. When in gameplay, the GameCube suffers from so much interlacing that you might be better off playing with the composite cables to blur them out. In this scene, whoa, the aliasing on the PS2 is just nasty. Then we see the difference in the sky color. At this point, it's just if you prefer the cell shading with interlacing or the 3D graphics with aliasing. Let's bring in all 4 versions now. Looking real close, the Xbox 360 has a bit more jagged edges on his hair. Let's zoom in. See, there's a little bit more jaggies right here. Nothing serious, it's just something that I noticed. Looking at Frieza's head, it's a little smoother on the PS3, and the ship is more sharper on the PlayStation 3 also. I guess this is a good time to talk about how the HD editions went with the PS2 graphics and not the cell shading. On this scene, the aliasing is worse on the PS3. You can actually see that right here on the black outline, but there's more detail on Goldo's head. The PS3 offers slightly more detail on the grass. I did this just because it looked cool on Goku's close-up, the 3D versus cell shading.
I can only hope my training will be enough.
Then I noticed the lack of shadows in the PlayStation 2. They are just circles, no actual casting of shadows at all. It's the only version like this. Between the PS3 and 360, I am really just nitpicking. Both really are identical, nothing anyone would notice unless they watched a video like this. The PS2 and GameCube, however, differences for days. Both have stuff in their favor. The PlayStation 2 is better because of the lack of interlacing, and if you prefer the 3D graphics, it seems to have crisper visuals overall, and of course, better frame rate. The GameCube is better because of the anti-aliasing, and if you prefer the cell shading, and well, that's really it. They all look really great, honestly. For me, I'd play the PS3 or 360 one. If you really want to play the cell shading, play the GameCube version on a Dolphin emulator. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for all of the amazing comments left on my Rayman 2 video. You guys are really awesome. And remember, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button, and until next time, I'm Jurassic Ninja, and see you later.
Goku! Don't die!